I'm David Sharpe. I'm the Divisional Director for Merlin Entertainments in London. I'm very proud to say we're welcoming our 50 millionth customer since we opened in the year 2000, or just on the millennium, as you know. It has been an extraordinary passage of time. To do 50 million guests on an attraction is quite extraordinary. We weren't anticipating this in those early days when it was built. But I think it's come about through the fact we've become an icon for modern London, and we've constantly updated the packages. So, for instance, we bought some boats to do some sightseeing cruises on. We do dining on the Eye at night. We do champagne capsules. We do seasonal events, and of course, we also have fantastic attractions in the South Bank that belong to our company, with the London Dungeon and the Aquarium very close by. So, I think the Eye has benefited from a constantly changing offer to its customers in a very, very popular city. Well, I think the unique thing about the Eye is that, as you say, it's constantly moving. There are a lot of still platforms you can have a look at London from, and I think it's a very inspiring perspective to see London. You're very much up close and personal with a lot of the buildings like Big Ben and Parliament, Downing Street, which you don't necessarily get elsewhere. And in the capsules, we actually have some tablets which give you more information in international languages. So it's a very inspiring and, I think, entertaining view of London, but constantly moving, which is different to any other. There've been so many. I mean, there's been all sorts of highlights. I think a lot of the really big highlights have been around where we've been able to contribute something to London. So, for instance, the Olympics last year, we were at the centrepiece of the closing ceremony, that type of thing, and I'm sure you would have seen James Bond fly past in his helicopter and so forth. So there are some fantastic achievements that we've had. I think the other side is partly the amount of people who visited, the way London and now internationally people have taken the Eye to their hearts. We're a very accessible attraction, so we do a lot with people with disabilities and so forth. So I think we've just become a very rounded, all-round accessible attraction for not only home visitors but for overseas visitors as well. Well, in the early days, we only had a 5-year planning permission, which I guess is in some ways typically British, in that we come up with these great ideas and we think we'll take them down again. So we had a 5-year planning permission. When we got to about year 3 or 4, I think everybody realised not only how successful it was, but how popular it was, and how popular it was particularly with Londoners. And therefore we then ended up doing an application to our local borough to get a life extension, and we now have an application that means we'll be here for life. But I think things like the Olympics and the Jubilee have made a massive difference to London's tourism this year. It was a tough year last year because with the Olympics you don't necessarily get all the visitors one would expect, and it was a tough year for a lot of businesses, not just for the Eye. But I think the recovery this year and how strong the return and the exposure of London has been is now delivering some fantastic numbers for the city, and we benefit from that. I think it's become such an established part of London that I think our future is being that icon for the city.